think it's the same age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When?
Meet me at the dance.
Hello, good evening, and welcome back, everyone, to the Overwatch All-Star Brawl number 3, a tournament dedicated to the Tier 3 community. I'm 3.007, I'm joined by Sir Waltham, and tonight we have a matchup between Torbulance and Team 2.
Very good to be here, Threep. Excited to see these two teams go up against one another. As always, excited to cast alongside you, my good friend, and we're going to be starting on Nepal tonight.
I also hear that we've got a little bit of a partay going on in the official Star Esports Live Discord.
Yes, so make sure that if you're in the Star Esports channel, you want to come hang out with some of us. Not me and Threep, obviously. We are here in the casters booth. We actually don't get the opportunity to interact with all the kind people in the Discord that often. But if you want to come hang out with the Discord, get to know us a little bit better, be sure to pop on in and interact a little bit.
And speaking of interacting and getting to join us in the casters booth, we actually have a very special pregame interview for you today. We are joined by Lib.
Hey everyone, I'm Lib. I'm Torbulance's assistant coach.
And we are just absolutely thrilled to have you here tonight, Lib. What are your thoughts for this match coming up right now?
Coming from last week's game versus New England Whalers for us, some people call it an upset when we beat them 3-2. Pretty confident for today. I think at the very least, it'll be a really good game tonight.
Well, that's certainly what we're hoping for. We love seeing some real competitive games. Now, I have real bad memory, so I apologize, Lib, if I already forgot. But you said assistant manager, correct?
Assistant coach.
Assistant coach.
Yeah.
Now, can you go ahead and describe what that entails for you and your organization? Because I know some orgs do it a little bit differently than others.
Yeah, for me specifically, I'm more of a lobby coach, so I sit in with the teams during their scrims, when they're during the matches when I can, and I'm that person who keeps everything running smoothly, make sure everyone's on track, and learning and improving on what they should be doing with what we discuss in VOD reviews or post scrims.
Okay, so it sounds like you do quite a bit for the team, and I can definitely appreciate that. I'm going to give you the opportunity to talk up your team here. What are some strengths you think you guys really have locked down heading forward?
Our team, especially recently, I've been really impressed with how the team's been improving. Like, they've been improving at a super fast pace. And I think one strength is that we're really good at, I don't know how to word this, maybe being flexible. Some of our team has been having some really big, one of us has been, like, his computer got boomed. His GPU just, like, died.
Oh, wow.
So he's been out for a week, or maybe, actually, like, a week or two now. But that didn't let us stop like improving, getting better, stop playing well. We've been playing with subs and ringers almost every scrim now, but we're still as strong, if not even stronger than before.
It's definitely a skill and a strength to be able to be that coordinated, especially when you don't have a regular lineup coming out. So mad props to y'all. A special shout out to that fella's computer. Hope he gets some good news about that. But so your team, very versatile, it seems, very capable of picking up the pieces and moving forward no matter what. So we're down here in the lower bracket, and you don't get down here without having some hiccups coming along the way. How have you guys been picking up from your defeats, but also now starting to take some real names down here, as you said, taking it all the way to the maximum against the Whalers?
Yeah, we take those matches, we VOD review them. We think very critically, what can we do better? What should we have done better? And really let those push us forward and make those big jumps in improvement.
Awesome. And it looks like you might even get a chance to go back up against Scion Esports, depending on how the upper bracket matches go down. So we'll be curious to see how that one rolls out.
And us too.
And I mean, it seems like you guys have just in the quick 5-minute conversation we've had so far, had this kind of attitude of what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. And I think that that's something that definitely should certainly be accounted for as we move forward into here. I think we are just about ready for these teams to get underway, Lib, but I want to go ahead and give you the opportunity. Well, Threep, do you have any more questions before I...
I'd love to hear what Lib has to say about his team. I think that was what you're going for, maybe?
Yeah. Just how do you feel about any last words before we go into this match for your team?
As long as they've been playing like they have in scrims, as long as they listen to all our feedback, both me and our head coach's words, I'm sure they'll do great.
Well, fantastic. I'm sure you guys will definitely have some fans rooting there in chat. But Lib, for the time being, we want to go ahead and give you a big thanks for hopping into the chat and answering a few questions for us.
And thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Now, Threep, as I touched on a little bit earlier, this does mean we will be going on to Nepal to start. You have any expectations of this map so far?
So it's been a bit now since we've seen some Nepal. The map actually got banned in the last matchup we were in. This time around, we're going to be kicking off right about as quickly as we possibly can. So this is going to be very fun. Now, unlike Lijiang Tower, where we get to see a wide variety of compositions because the map just generally allows for it. On Nepal, you actually have a little different style of play, and one of the most important styles of play that you see coming out a lot is, in fact, that Mei play. The hero can be used, in general, can be used quite well, but Nepal has those corners, hard angles, and chokes that really make Mei's wall placement a key tactical factor in how battles play out.
Yeah, I'm certainly going to be keeping an eye out myself for those Mei players coming through. And while we're talking about keeping eyes out, I want to extend an invitation to Twitch chat to keep an eye out for their MVP of the match. Be sure to throw some votes into Twitch chat if you're feeling, so kind towards those players, those game players as we move forward. Show us and them, more importantly, the support of, the entertainment they're certainly bringing to us.
Yeah, and we love having you here. We wouldn't have a show to put on if you weren't here to enjoy it with us, so thank you very much for stopping by and having a good time. Now, as we get started here on Nepal, what I'm going to be super excited about is because this is one of my most favorite maps. It pretty much guarantees the Mei is going to come out from at least one side. Honestly, if we don't see any Mei at all, I will be genuinely surprised.
Yeah, this would be the map where I would say teams can lean on the Ice Queen quite a bit herself. I mean, it makes sense. She hunts Yetis here, but with that being said, it looks like only one team going to be locking the Mei in early. Torbulance looking like they will be foregoing that for a little bit more of a long-range style.
So this is the other option you get, Farah's. Back in the day, you actually used to see Farah as a default lock-in here. It's Air on the Hanzo that I'm even more excited about. We just saw another particular team, Old Man Strength, do the Farah Hanzo projectile duo and play that to incredible effect. And yeah, they're going to be leaving spawn with it, so this is going to be fascinating up against Nyx Maywall.
Yeah, I don't know necessarily how this is going to shake out. They're going to have to use that Mei's resources fairly efficiently, since that Farah basically can just fire massive burst damage in an incredible fashion, already building up quite a bit of ult.
So it's important to remember, too, that there's a lot of debuffs that are going into the field here, and one of those is Sigma's shield, in addition to Arisa's shield timing. Now, there hasn't been any kill coming out from Air yet, and he's actually looking pretty low, and he's going after the... there it is! Noro, but Magic Mate Ball goes down to the big arrows, tree trunks, but Noro also gets rezzed. However, despite Turbulence's man advantage, it looks like Team 2 is going to be taking a point quite quickly. And then as we keep going here, it looks like once again the barriers for the side of Team 2 are going to start suffering a bit. And now the big kill! Oh my god, 6K! So what the heaven just happened? That was unbelievable!
That was rather amazing. You get those opportunities so rarely. You take them when you can. I think Essel going to be feeling pretty good about that. Something I want to point out, though, the side of Torbulance not choosing to run the Moira. This is the first time I think I've seen Moira foregone in quite a long time. You're gonna be having that nano boost. You might be able to get some really good value out of it if they put the put it on the Farah.
Yeah, and what an anti-nade coming out from Tony. This is just unbelievable play. It looks like Torbulence just needed a little time to get their feet under them, as it is after that sextuple kill, as Athena, no doubt, so proudly proclaimed. They have just been locking it up. Air's now been sitting on the dragons for a while. Lord did throw out the Mercy of Valkyrie, but otherwise this is looking really good for Torbulence. Meanwhile, Team 2 very far away from any of their ults except Nick, who might have a chance to build up a blizzard for this following fight.
Right, and we're not too far into the round quite yet, but they're going to have to start being very considerate of what resources they have moving forward. We're going to be seeing the side of Team 2, aside from taking another fat nade in a really rough spot if they don't build up some...
Yeah, Purple's MVP of this one, as just with the sheer power of that inability to heal. Team 2 is just completely left in the lurch. May gets caught, throws down the ice pillar just to live from those arrows, and it doesn't matter. The rest of the team just gets utterly obliterated. Once again, barely any old generation. Actually switches over to the McCree just to probably try and deal with this pharmacy.
Yeah, Team 2 trying to just operate where they can. This Hanzo seems to be a constant factor in today's games.
Yeah, and especially with the sheer power of their head clicks. It's rare to see in the day and age of the barriers just such incredible play. Oh, wow, the nano boost goes on to Esso to keep them alive in that blizzard, and it works. The barrage goes right into CJ, who had thrown out the laser beams, and Team 2 actually switches over the point, so this is going to be a very short-lived take.
It really will, and Team 2's ultimate usage right now looking a little bit shaky. There's going to be a couple kills coming through from them, and it looks like the swaps, in fact, are also going to come out. The Doomfist and a Diva coming out onto the field, it looks like, just to get back as quickly as possible.
And Essel, having wandered onto the point, gets punched away by Nick, and now they were being, you know, when you come down to Doomfist level, you can only expect to get thwapped. Meanwhile, Lore picks up the resurrection. It's pure overtime, and you have the Diva play. Maybe they'll have a chance to try and deal with Essel in the sky. Instead, however, they actually get DMAC'd really quickly, and PG1 runs in the opposite direction of the point. They get taken out very quickly. Overtime ticks down. Doomfist not able to make it in. That's a first round of Nepal going very decisively towards the side of Torbulance.
Right, and it really didn't feel like Team 2 had too much of a footing that entire game. They lost the first fight to that massive barrage, or the second fight to that massive barrage, and despite them all dying relatively close to one another in terms of time, they just were not able to get what looked like regrouped quite enough to make it matter. I was talking about how Torbulance wasn't running this Moira. Definitely did not seem to hamper them. It looks like they'll continue to not run it, and instead, I'm going to go for the Baptiste Immort field style.
Yeah, seems like the right option to me, at least. It's just been... They've got to try something, and they've got to get it. They've got to make it happen. Otherwise, they're going to be losing up this round. So yeah, I can see the need to switch it out. Actually, starting Wanna be on the McCree, I think, is your best option here. Give him a chance to build up at least some ultimate charge, and then maybe just handle this pharmacy a little bit.
Right, but they're going to have to be very careful. Essel does have a lot of power with those concussion blasts, not only to knock people off the map, but displace them where they really don't want to be, and funnel just so much damage into that interior room. Essel already halfway to a rocket barrage.
And also, let's not forget air on the frickin' Bastion here. Now, they've left themselves open to a hook, and if Team 2 ever actually tries to be a little aggressive with this, they're going to get ripped right off, and instead they actually make it almost impossible for them to use any of the halt or hook abilities to get this Bastion out of here. Instead, the halt's going to come in. They decimated the barrage again! Essel just so strong with it. It gets one, they finish up the rest, and yeah, the point is actually, wow, CJ. Oh, man.
And yeah, that is so unfortunate. CJ going to be popping that coalescence, I believe, right as, you know, half the kills go onto their team, so they're not going to have that. I think Team 2's ult economy has not been looking great. I don't think they're going to be too bothered as they're switching over to what looks like more of a dive style. This time a Diva instead of the Winston. We usually don't see that.
Yeah, so I think this is going to be more part and parcel of them. So yeah, they're going full damage, no barriers at all. They understand that they're just going to get focused down, so instead they're going to go pure offense. The Diva, complete damage and vulnerability, but man, this Bastion just way too strong. The damage isn't coming in, and PG1 is actually going to get DMAC'd before they have a chance to take care of this Bastion. And it's such an interesting bunker. They've set up literally anywhere other than the point. So dangerous a chance for them to get booped off, but the Hamster can't make it happen, and Wannabe can't find that hack.
Now, Wannabe playing dangerously close in behind the enemy team has the option of hack targets. They could go for Tony to get rid of that immortality field. They could go for air to just right up pull them out. Wannabe gets caught out, has to translocate. You hate to see that right before an engagement.
Yeah, that's nuts. And so it looks like they're going to, again, just trying to be finding this entrance here. There's no ultimates to speak of. Meanwhile, Torbulance having many ultimates. So the big the big ball comes in. There's nothing to do. And there it is! They get the hack on the back. Oh no, he had just switched into tank mode. Of all the unfortunate timing, the hack was perfect, but the Bastion was already there. And of course, Essel murders, you know, in their usual fashion. So 83% and counting, and Torbulance once again showing no signs of stopping on this map here.
Yeah, no signs of stopping, no signs of mercy right now. And the swaps keep coming through for the side of Team 2. Now Wannabe going over to the Reaper. They got to be trying to make something happen. Somebody needs to touch, though, and in touch they will.
Yeah, and so they actually do get the touch, and that also, helps that no one's on the point, but they have to deal with this Bastion somehow. Otherwise, no one's going to be alive on the point, and they also have no barriers to deal with. Now, Wannabe actually finds Lore in the back line. They're far away from any sort of ultimate, but they're doing some damage with the Reaper. Tony, the Immortality Field goes down, and they've actually managed to flip the point, so this map is going to last a bit longer. There's just no kills to back any of this up. All right, Wannabe does grab Essel. That's good. It's not enough.
Right, and again, it seems like Team 2 has been playing on the back foot constantly. They just don't look like they want to quite get organized here as much as they need to. Bastion comps require a huge amount of organization and coordination to get the focus fire down, and right now, they might have to change something up.
Yeah, and they're not able to, and Team 2 just isn't able to get on the point with the sheer damage coming out from Torbulance. The only hero that was able to get in and out of there without dying appeared to have been the Bastion, but even then, they're not building enough ult charge with the grounded pounds, they're just not getting anything done, and it's just super unfortunate because that's the level of coordination you would need, someone going in with the hamster like the D.Va to cover, and I'm actually genuinely surprised that it's not going to be the 6K from previously. That seems like a ripoff. Blizzard, what the hell?
I agree. That was a very large 6K coming through. But
wow.
This does mean Torbulance going to be taking an early lead into this matchup here. Does not look good for Team 2. Not just because they lost the map. That can happen to any team. But the fashion in which they lost it is setting them up for a pretty grim position right now.
Yeah, so this is going to be pretty interesting. At least what Team 2 can say is they've had a nice little warm-up match. They never really made an effort to contest, I guess. Like, they had some good moments, but I never really felt that Torbulance was getting the momentum taken away from them. This is a big chance to take the momentum away from Torbulance. Team 2 might not be able to pick the side that they start on here, but they're going to be able to pick the map. That is after Turbulence bans one, so it's going to be a good opportunity for them to really pick out of the pool their definite favorite, their definite strength, and really start to take this match, make it a contest.
Right. And, you can talk about map favorites and all that kind of stuff as it goes. But if we're talking about momentum, which it seems like Torbulance is building rather quickly, I think you need to shake that up if you're Team 2. Yeah, you can go on a map you're comfortable with. But if you want Torbulance to really falter a little bit, you need to pick something that they're perhaps not so equipped for. I hope they've been doing their research. It looks like the ban going to be going on to King's Row, so we're not going to be seeing it anytime in this match tonight. However, it does look like Lijiang going to be the map that's coming up. Oh wait, no, it won't be because it won't. We can't play the same map type back to back.
Yep. And so, it's going to be. And honestly, I actually want to talk about that real quick. Team 2 just immediately was like, no, let's get back to control. That's interesting. Now, maybe it's their willingness to run the hamster. We literally just heard it from one of the main hamster players themselves, Yeetle, who mentioned that, hamster and Lijiang Tower, it's like peanut butter and bread. It's like milk and ice cream. It's the man, the myth, the legend. You gotta play the Hammond. And instead, they actually are going to be going to... What is with Temple of Anubis today?
It's coming back in a big way, apparently, here at the Overwatch All-Stars Brawl. At least in the losers bracket, so make of that what you will. But Torbulance going to be selecting the map side. It looks like they're electing to defend, so they might be feeling pretty confident in that. I know we just saw it on, I think it was one sub-map, rather. Do you think we're going to be seeing the Bastion anymore tonight?
That seems like a very specific strategy for that particular setup, or that particular round of Nepal. So, given that they were willing to work it for one particular round of Nepal, then yeah, I'll bet they have that in their back pocket for another map. I can think of a bunch of places where that cheeky little Bastion play could do some serious damage. Now, one of the advantages here is that setting up in that particular location, forcing the bunker like that, if you're not prepared specifically to deal with it, then yeah, that location and that map makes your entry points very limited and very tricky. On a map like Anubis, bunkers are spoopy situations, but you still have some similar options. You can set up on some serious high ground, very difficult to contest if you don't have the right lineup.
Certainly. I think that for Turbulence, if we do see the Bastion come out again, it's highly likely to be either one of the payload maps or something like Hollywood, where, you know, we used to see old school bunker all the time. But
Yeah.
it looks like for the start, Turbulence not going to be going for the defense with a Bastion.
And I think that is probably a good option. My other favorite option that they've taken here is that they're sticking with this projectile DPS combination. And I see no reason why they shouldn't, especially on point A, when Essel has a regularly normal skybox, screw you, point B, and Air has been absolutely fantastic. So yeah, stick with the tree trunks. I get it. Meanwhile, Wannabe, they're gonna be going for that pot shot, and this is actually a situation where they might even pull. Aw, no, they didn't do it. No, come on, they're running the pharmacy. You actually had a solid option for it, and I'll bet they pull out the hit scan pretty quickly. Instead, it's gonna be Nick on the May trying to get them inside to that point.
Yeah, and the Pharah here, Essel, going to be playing against DPS that don't necessarily have the best counterplay against that Pharah. Reaper, almost completely ineffective against that Pharah if she's in the air. May has a really tough time landing those right clicks in comparison to something like a hit scan. So I think that, you know, the favor here might lay a little bit more towards Turbulence's favor.
Yeah, and this is pretty interesting. Essel was trying to take a very interesting view. Ah, there's that May wall in action. Sirius gets caught completely out of position, gets separated, but it's a tank trade. Devil gets found by Air, and man, the Arisa headbox is exactly the kind of thing that Hanzo's arrows love to find.
They really do. Air already building up quite a bit of ult charge, and already we're seeing the Hammond come out onto the field. Devil rolling in like a I don't know, bat out of hell, I guess.
And hell is emptied apparently right now because the bats are. Ooh, Essel gets taken down by Nick. Now that's a spicy take. Generates some of that Blizzard ult charge as well. It's not looking good actually no longer for Turbulence. Very difficult to replace these kills, and yeah, now the hits are coming in. Lure Noro gonna be the next to fall. Tony gonna do their best to stall out with their Sigma in play, but they get frozen, they get tossed down. Air follows as well. Excellent take. Team 2 finally arrived. Welcome to Temple of Anubis.
Yeah, I would say that a large portion of that team victory goes to the fact that respawns just take a little bit longer for the defense. The attackers were able to keep that going for long enough to where one kill can slowly snowball into 2, which can turn into 4, which eventually turns into the team fight win. I mean, a lot of time was bought by Torb, but losing that far early, it's not a good setup for this next fight.
So the res goes in immediately, and I definitely question the efficacy of having the Pharah on this point when you are so limited in your skybox. The Dragons goes right down the choke. That's gonna get someone, it looks like. No! In fact, they live, but Noro does pick up Wannabe. The Boop comes in, trying to keep the team separated. Sigma getting low, not gonna get focused down just quite yet. And no, they get kept alive, and that's fantastic. Essel getting amazing use out of this Pharah, despite the typical inefficiency you see.
Yeah, Wannabe in that fight the first time around did not look like they knew whether they wanted to commit or not. They went in, then immediately the entire defense kind of turned their attention to him. He wraith formed and tried to back out, but it just caused him to take an early fall. And we're gonna see the initiation with the sound barrier this time for Team 2.
Yeah, so the sound barriers go out, and it's not going to be in place to do anything against this serious Grav, which would normally be the case if the Grav is actually going to do anything. And now kills just coming in massively for Team 2, who are using their ults to incredible efficacy, and they've cleared the point.
They certainly have, I imagine. If we see any contest coming out, it's certainly going to be those stall characters. Sirius proving me right on that one. Gets booped, gets knocked, stunned. Wow. Season 12 all over again.
Yeah, that's a rough time. And wow, holy smacks. Team 2 freaking cleaned up on Temple of Anubis there. Glad to see now we've got some seriously excellent Overwatch coming out from them. 3 minutes and 50 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, Team 2 might be starting to get that organization that we were talking about back. This time it kind of seemed like Turbulence were the ones, especially on that first point to me, that weren't able to quite keep up with themselves once they started falling down the hill. And maybe they stayed on those projectile heroes just a little bit too long. The Hanzo, the Pharah, maybe not the most beneficial in that situation. I know that it's really nice to use those ultimates. But, I mean, at the end, Essel didn't get much with the Rocket Barrage. The Dragon did kind of stifle the attack a little bit, but really it might have been a little bit better switching off early to build some hit scan or May ult charge even faster or sooner.
Yeah, and that's kind of that situation you find yourself in. Do you stick around on the ultimate? Do you throw it out? Do you just make the switch and cut your loss? When you have to switch away from that nice glowy check mark, it definitely leaves a bad taste in your mouth, but I'll bet that taste goes away real quickly if you actually edge out and win the map. That didn't happen, and so with a hefty time bank in their back pocket, Team 2 going to be coming in on the defense here with pretty much exactly what they came out on their offense with. Nick sticking onto that May, and based on how they've been performing, I'd say that's going to go a long way. Sorry, that was really rhymy.
I agree. I think that we might see some mixed results come out of here from Torbulance if they insist on rocking this Pharah. Essel, I know, plays that Pharah quite a bit. Definitely the Pharah player for this team. Again, I think first point, we can see some productivity with it. But when we get onto that B point, I think they're going to have to swap. Otherwise, they're going to lose a lot of time.
Yeah, speaking of losing some time, Essel gonna have to start generating some serious power here. No boop potential right now for getting this team off of position, so instead they're just gonna have to hammer into these barriers and hopefully they can save damage. Nick actually gets focused very low thanks to some combination from CJ and the Rockets coming down, but now the Rockets have turned to Essel, and with the power combined of Team 2, they actually take them out of the sky. No lure in sight to pick them up, as they have also just been murdered, possibly in the attempt of that res. I missed it because I was too busy watching Wannabe go in on those tanks.
Yeah, Lure and Noro looking very split from their team right there. Looks like Lure thought they could bail out Noro. Not quite the case there when you have 6 members of the opposing team just bearing down on you. And CJ already with that coalescence can be a very early fight winner, or certainly a very decisive ultimate moving into these next couple fights.
Speaking of decisive ultimates, Air, Dragons could really get this team separated and do some serious damage as well, possibly. Instead, though, we haven't been seeing the same head-click potential that we've been looking at, and so they are going to be setting up at the high ground here, and they are going to be starting their push. They're going to be taking out... Ooh, they've got a clear line of the back line, but it's not going to be enough. The barrier Sigma shield just in right enough position. Oh, there it goes! Nothing this time! They figured it out.
Yeah, it was very telegraphed. We saw Essel kind of hanging back while the rest of the team made the rotation. You have to expect, if you're on the defensive side, that Rocket Barrage is going to be coming through, especially when the Mercy is right there in pocket with them. We're going to be having that Valkyrie, but their companion, not necessarily so ult healthy. A lot of ults on the side of Torbulance, though, so they have some chance to make it work here.
Yeah, and they, again, same side for Team 2, though. They're still going to have a bunch to play with here, and it's a lot. They've got the Blizzard, PG, Magic Mateball also going to be pulling out those barriers, so if Sirius does manage to build up to that Gravitic Flux, they're going to have that counter right there waiting for him. Meanwhile, yeah, Torbulance, so many up. There it is. There's the Dragons coming in. The Valkyrie's also on the field, and the barriers is there, saving Team 2 from certain destruction. Both Superchargers not going to make it. Noro's going to be the first tank to fall. And okay, so that's a trade. PG1 goes down because Lore has just apparently had enough. Gets taken down immediately, but another trade. But you lose the Reaper to get the Mercy. That's a pretty solid option, except the defense going to be replacing those spawns a lot.
Oh no, Essel.
That's a rip.
This has been a very weird team fight. We're seeing Air kind of trying to now one-man the point, not going to work out for them. A lot of ults invested into that fight. Essel looking to finally make the switch to the conventional with the Doomfist. And despite how many ults went into that fight, still a lot on hand for the defense. I thought Magic Mateball using that sound barrier early on was going to be crucial in their loss against Sirius's Grav Flux. Doesn't seem to be the case yet anyway.
Yeah, and so now it's the dueling Gravitic Fluxes. There's no barriers on either side to make it happen, and it's good trade once again. Essel on the Doomfist having switched goes down. Magic Mateball, however, not going to be long for this world. But Nick and PG1 pick up Lore, actually almost an equal trade. Devil finds Noro, and with 30 seconds left and not really anything to show for it, I'd say that Team 2 made a very solid choice in choosing Anubis here.
Yeah, Torbulance really looking to kind of shake the sands a little bit. They need somebody to get onto point. Not a wrecking ball in sight, though. It's looking like it's going to be pretty grim if they can't get somebody here. They have 10 seconds to get to it.
Yeah, and yep, there it is. They get back onto the map. The Death Blossom goes in from wannabe. It grabs the 3K. The cleanup is here. That's just pretty much it. I think we all know where this is going.
Yeah, Wannabe gonna be cleaning up on behest of their team. The defense gonna hold strong first point, and you know that first attack phase was looking like a fluke, but Team 2 making sure that it is known that was all well intentioned with that full hold on first point.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Really well done, honestly, from Team 2. Again, now this is kind of interesting. We've seen it go both ways here. Team 2 on... Oh, wow, I didn't realize that was a sextuple kill from Wannabe, and he got the highlight. Unfair. In any event, that's 2 sextuple kills now that we've seen coming out, and frankly, I am just genuinely shocked and surprised and extremely happy. So now we have the wonderful situation of going into a 1v1, and both teams have now done exactly what they did to the other. They have literally dominated. Honestly, like, I almost would... You'd be hard-pressed to convince me that Torbulance was the team that was so clearly unbelievable on Nepal.
Yeah, I think so as well. It's looking like it might be another one of those map-based games. Whoever can just be more comfortable on more maps kind of pulls it out in the end. Looks like Dorado's not going to be one of those maps, though, as the Team 2 team going to be banning it right out of the gates.
Makes sense. That's a really nasty one to go on if you're not ready for it. Wow! Okay, Team 2 bans Dorado, and Torbulence immediately jumps onto Watchpoint Gibraltar. I think I know what's going to happen here.
Does it start with a B and end in Bastion?
Yeah, I think that's it. I don't know. Bastion was one of those heroes that you like never see on Watchpoint Gibraltar. There was this strategy called Pirate Ship, and like no one runs it anymore except when they do, like all the freaking time. So yeah, I think this is pretty self-explanatory here, unless it's not. The one thing actually that Torbulence can really rock here, as we see the sides switch with Team 2 electing to be on the defense to start, is a Pharah. Once again, Pharah, Hanzo, maybe even some other snipers, like if they want to bring out the Widowmaker, even the Ashe, even though you don't really see that all that often. This is the map to do it on.
Right, and Widowmaker is very dominant in this map. There's a lot of high ground, there's a lot of long sight lines, there's a lot of long sight lines that look over, a lot of geometry. So there's many ways in which you can manipulate that DPS play. I think that's really gonna actually be a strong considerance that Torbulence is going to have to take here, because Essel, we've seen, likes playing that Pharah quite a bit. If the Widow becomes a little bit more predominant, Pharah might have a harder time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they'll have a harder time, a much harder time. And so when they come out on deep... So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to see or be Garen, I guess, comfortable in Torbulence's picks, as they're going to be starting on offense and probably doing a little bit of the old shakeroo. But meanwhile, this defense coming out, I think this is going to be pretty interesting, since Gibraltar is also a map where I don't think we're going to be seeing Nick play Mei all that much, depending on where they'd like to set up.
Yeah, I think that if you're going to run Mei on the first section of Watchpoint Gibraltar, you really have to kind of be banking on that side room underneath the car wash, and I don't know, that feels like a bit of progress to give up. I'm hoping that we get another really close spawn hold. We'll see teams every once in a while do a very sneaky crawl where they'll go over to cliffside and they'll tuck in right onto the side of those spawn doors. And then as soon as the team comes out waiting for them to be on, as soon as the attacking team comes out waiting for them to be on high ground, they just pounce on them. Sometimes a Mei will get a separation and it'll be an absolute feast for the defense. That can only work so many times though.
Yeah, now so far there's... God, I'm going to do it anyways. And Nick actually comes out on the Mei, by the way. Literally shocking. So, depending on how this defense goes, this could either be horrific for Torbulence or they'll just rip right through it. However, I'm also not seeing any Bastion to speak of, and I think that may have been what the Mei was coming out to try and deal with.
It certainly might have been. Bastion can get lifted up by that Mei wall, allowing for the kills to come through if the focus fire is there. But their positioning right now leaves Essel to build quite a bit of ult charge with those rockets.
Wow. Oh, the anti-nading Ana is back. Tony is here to make it happen. The purple goes on to Devil, but they're not going to be able to get a kill out of it, but it does force them off of that precious high ground. So now they're back down playing with everyone else, and PG1 is going to be the first to fall. Those rockets with that boosted damage and the pole dragging them back into the line of fire just not going to be enough. And yeah, it's a full retreat from Team 2 back to basically the final hold point.
Yeah, Team 2 going to be looking a little bit timid after taking just one loss in that situation. They know they don't want to stall out as much as they perhaps could, but with that, they're going to re-engage here at, the last turn of Gibraltar, looking to get some kills pulled back.
And that's a little spooky, losing your own Sigma on this offense. Now, you're going to be able to replace that pretty quickly, but I think Torbulance might have been expecting their DPS to pull out just a few more of these kills here. The Maywall does go down, and that is going to be a fantastic way of stopping Air from getting out of there, scrabbling at that wall, trying to survive. They do not. The card has moved a significant distance, but Team 2, despite 3.007's bullshitting, is actually going to be doing fantastically with this May here.
Yeah, they certainly seem to know what they're doing. Essel getting taken down a little bit late by Devil. Essel has the question now, do they want to hold on to this Rocket Barrage? It looks like they will as they get rezzed back up by Lure. And the Rocket Barrage and the Valkyrie really the only things they have working for them in the immediate.
Yep, and now they're quite spread out, that is to say Team 2. So getting a 6K is going to be all but impossible in this particular situation. Also, Team 2 has been doing fantastic at shutting Essel down before they even get so much as a Justice out, let alone of Rockets. Yeah, the barrage goes right in the back line, and PG1 was there! Just freaking right there! Can't even get Justice out before they get obliterated. And I think this is time for Essel to get away from that Pharah.
It really does seem that way. It looks like, in fact, the switches will come through. We're going to be seeing the Doomfist Lure hopping onto the Lucio. No need for the Mercy if you can just get speed instead. Air holding onto these Storm Dragons. Tony with a Nano Boost. Not sure what they'll be opting to throw that Nano Boost onto. As well, a lot of damage amplification possibilities coming through from Torbulance. They need to make it happen if they want to get past this first map, or this first point.
Which is pretty understandable. Air is actually still holding on to that Dragons, and that can technically go a long way, especially if Devil's going to be there to help. Yeah, so the Dragons goes in. The halt was there, but no one was there to be captured yet. With that split, they do grab PG1. Now, Nick has thrown the Blizzard down. Tony, oh, wow, just a freaking wipe again. Team 2 is here to stay.
They really are. They did have to invest all of their crowd control ultimates into that, though. They used the May Blizzard, they used the Sigma Gravitic Flux. They're going to be having the Reaper Death Blossom, but no damage amplification for it. They're going to be having Magic 8 Ball's Sound Barrier up probably by the time Sirius gets the Grav Flux online. So they'll have a little bit of counterplay with that, but then Noro has that Turbo or Supercharger. There's a lot of plays that can be made here, but not a lot of ults to make those plays.
Yeah, and honestly, this just hasn't been Turbulence's day on this particular matchup. Now, they grab the Simia again, but we've seen that pick happen before. And now Barriers is here. The big Blossom goes in the back and grabs Air. And Noro's Supercharger, of course, not of course, but gets focused down so quickly it doesn't result in any extra damage coming in. Nick is getting tossed around just a tad, but Essel, the laser beams come out. Nick does get murdered, but it's still looking like Team 2 is just unstoppable on this defense.
Yeah, they are looking real good. I was thinking this was going to be a situation where map picks would matter. Magic 8 Ball getting the double kill, not even with, environmental kills, just with standard boop damage. With that, Team 2 going to manage to hold it before first point. This is starting to tip in their favor, Threep.
Yeah, this is getting a little interesting. As far as pushes on Gibraltar goes, that is definitely not what I would refer to as my favorite. So, you have a situation where this is a very winnable map right now for Torbulance. If it was the Torbulance from if it was the Torbulance from the Nepal setup. What the Torbulance we've been seeing coming out here right now is not the Torbulance that wins Watchpoint Gibraltar. So something has got to change. And man, if they leave spawn with that Pharah, I think they can kiss this map goodbye.
Yeah, I don't think the Pharah has been proving its worth much lately. I think Essel switched a little bit too late onto the Doomfist. Doomfist not looking the best with these patch changes that have come through recently. Almost, I think, a 60% increase in his charge time for his right clicks. And, that's a major decrease in DPS, but I still think in this instance you might prefer him over the Pharah. Doesn't look like the side of Turbulence is going to be sticking to that wisdom though. They're going to be going on to the Pharah. I'm nervous for him, Threep.
Yeah, this is going to be kind of interesting. It's now at the point where Essel has dropped Barrage, I think 3 times. And every single one of those barrages has ended before, literally, before Pharah finishes saying justice. It's also, like, it's especially been PG1. They seem to just be assigned to keeping an eye out for Essel. And possibly that started after that 6K, which
Right.
makes a lot of sense. You've immediately adjusted, and it's been working out great. So we need to see something else from Torbulence and how they're handling this ultimate.
Yeah, you said it right there, Threep. Adjustment is the name of the game, and Turbulence does not seem to be as adjusting quite as fast as Team 2. Team 2 going to be rolling out here with the offensive Mei, it looks. And Essel playing pretty close to the chest and close to the team. And perhaps a little bit more than you might be comfortable with.
All right, and so here we go. And yeah, this card is going to start moving once again, forcing the defense back without really getting anything in the way of kills. But the positioning from Team 2 is just too strong.
It really does seem to be, especially with Noro falling, that is a lot of ground. Holding capabilities just being dropped into the bucket.
Yeah, and CJ has just been doing absolutely fantastically, generating this beam so quickly. Tony sitting at 80% and also dead. So that's one thing. Now, the cart is going to moving up the hill here, and once again, it's going to be the final, well, rather, the final holding point for Gibraltar here. No fast heroes. Now, Essel has the barrage. This is going to be the moment where it has to come up. They need to get to the point! And Essel's there, and once again, the shield goes right in their face. They shut it down. Team 2 takes it. It's match point. It's nice, actually, for once for the calls to, for me to be correct on the calls. I hereby apologize to Nick, who used that Mei just so freaking effectively.
Yeah, I think that Essel's barrages were looking pretty rough. I don't think I need to focus on those anymore than, you know, has already been stated. But man, Team 2 turned it around. I mean,
Yeah.
we talked about it right at the beginning of their attack phase, which was only about a minute ago. But they've adapted. The Pharah gave them a lot of trouble on Nepal. I believe it was Nepal. And then they just figured it out. They didn't have to worry about the Bastion. That was a very niche strategy. So they're going to put their efforts towards the one thing they need to focus on that's going to be a consistent, and that's Essel's Pharah.
Yeah, and again, you said it. Overwatch is the game of counter picks. It's the game of adjustments. Turbulence has not adjusted. Team 2 has very much so adjusted. And so Turbulence grabbed Watchpoint Gibraltar, and that got flung right back into their faces. What happens now is going to be interesting. It's the situation now of you get one more pick. Control didn't really work out. Or Control, however, worked out really well for you. Except that Team 2 was so ready to jump back into Eichenwald. I would hesitate to be... Eichenwald is the map that's being banned currently by Team 2. Team 2 was so ready to jump back to Lijiang. I don't know if that's a safe pick.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think going on to Lijiang, you know, at least on one map is going to give Essel a lot of power. It'll give them a lot more opportunities to play into what's strong for them. However, once you realize that Essel might have to lean into that on something like Night Market or Command Center, it's suddenly not looking as favorable for Turbulence, considering, you know, you can't just take it on one. You have to take at least 2, and sometimes you'll even go to a third map. That's just the way it goes. Turbulence, I think, really needs to pick careful here.
Yeah, it's absolutely a no bueno situation. If you're Turbulence, you have to make this map pick count. Now, this could also be kind of that bait situation that we saw last time. The ban has come in now for... with the ban onto Eichenwald, and so, they took it! Turbulence picks Hollywood! Now, so hang on. This is actually a solid option here. I really hope they're not thinking about running the Pharah. I think they should definitely be going full in on the Bastion here. The quote-unquote bunker that they set up on Nepal was fantastic, and I think that's going to be their best shot here.
Right, and if it's like we were discussing, Team 2 has only had one submap to play against the Bastion. They may not have had the full time to adjust, adopt, and even just talk over what they're going to be doing without the pressure of the game timer ticking against them. Bastion might be the way to go here. The question is, if Bastion fails first point, what does Torbulance do moving forward? Do they go with something like a Pharah or a Widow or an Ashe? Do they run Pharah in Streets phase? Do they go Sigma, Ori, Doom, Reaper like we've been seeing in previous patches? It's a lot of questions on the board 3.
Yeah, and speaking of those patches, one of the best bunker busters on Hollywood was Doomfist, specifically because of just how many shields he would also be getting from his murder, and also, doing some murder. He gets way less of that now, and his big right click charges up just that much slower, and, maybe that's not your bunker busting option anymore. Maybe you go with something different. Maybe you get that Hanzo, charge up some dragons, and throw that into the play. Also, we don't even necessarily know if Torbulance is going to be going with a bunker composition here. They might actually be pulling a little bit of a debate of their own. Speaking of which, if you're loving the content, if you're loving the game, and I'm frankly am having a freaking blast with this one, make sure you grab us that follow so you can keep yourself apprised every time we go live, and it's just going to be a fantastic time hanging out with you guys here. We love having you, and so let's get started on the defense here. Wolf, so it's once again Team 2 sets up on the defense. What do we think we're going to see from them?
Team 2, I think they might try to keep it a little bit more conventional. Yeah, I mean, so far it's looking like we're seeing the Ori, Reaper, Mei. I'm going to say that Mei has now become conventional by my definitions. I think that prior we used to see Doomfist Reaper as the de facto, go-to composition. I think Mei's become a little bit more reliable than Doomfist since her abilities haven't really been changed all that much, if memory serves, in this last patch, whereas Doomfist took a little bit of a hit. I'm not sure what the play from Torbulance is going to be. If they're going to be running this Zarya, that seems questionable. But
seems a little spooky.
Yeah, I think Team 2 probably has the best option here, knowing what they most likely know against against Torbulance. Surprisingly, not running anything that's highly anti-Pharah.
Which is also interesting because Essel has now correctly, I think, at this point, come out without the Pharah, despite Hollywood definitely being a good, solid Pharah matchup. Now, Nick, back on the Mei, this is going to be tricky for them, and ooh, they are taking a very risky route here. One that Mei can lock up very easily.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the situation, the performance is going to be for Team 2. Nick getting almost blasted in the sky.
So see, it's a tank trade, and then your next option is to isolate a target and murder them down, and it looks like Team 2 have done exactly just that. They grab Essel on the ground before they have any chance to do any more Doom fisting, and then it's just cleanup time, and Team 2 burns a minute off the clock with that push. But this time Torbulance not looking too terribly. They're building up their ultimates, they're generating some power, and Tony is actually keeping abreast of CJ this time around, which is very nice to see.
Yeah, PG1 got dropped into that fight, so they won't have as much ult charge. But you look at Lure on the other side, which is probably the most important ult to compare them to. They're going to be running about neck and neck, so they may not get too much with the next grab flux coming in from them.
Speaking of which, though, the laser beam goes in, actually coming out very early from Tony, and Essel finds PG1 in the tumult and the confusion. Magic 8 Ball also goes down. First time we've seen a major man advantage coming out from Torbulance, and if they can press this, they'll definitely take that point. Wannabe drops the Blossom and gets obliterated about as quickly as Essel was on the barrage. Yes, Torbulance, you have definitely adjusted. They're going to be taking this. Cleanup time is over, and that's going to be 2 minutes left on the clock.
Yeah, and I'm really pleased that they're starting to win this, because I think it represents a realization that the Pharah, although being a comfort pick, may not be the most optimal. And now they're looking forward to roll with a handful of ultimates. They're going to have both their DPS ultimates in the Meteor Strike and Death Blossom. And they're going to be having their Sound Barrier, but they're going to have to go up against a Blizzard, and that can lock down a lot of people, especially if Doomfist has used his limited movement abilities.
Yeah, this is, jeez, there it is. Air drops the Blossom, grabs their counterpart Wannabe. The wall is up. Nick has the Blizzard, but this is going to be a rough fight to throw that into. They do throw it in. They die immediately, and a good little healing ball from Moira keeps most everyone alive, as well as Tony dropping up the big beams. Now, Devil and Magic 8 Ball do find a couple kills of their own, but I think the momentum was just completely gone.
Yeah, the momentum is a very hard thing to rebuild, but if we're looking towards the side of Team 2, they're going to have a few ults to do it. They're going to have Coalescence, they're going to have the Supercharger, and they're going to be having the Sound Barrier. Sound Barrier can build up quite a little bit of stall, but they're going to certainly need that, considering that Torbulance has built a good pace on this cart so far.
Up, and there's the barriers, and then Grav actually comes out from their own. Barriers now dropped by Magic 8 Ball. Was it in time? Yes. Essel goes down. Wannabe with the help from Halt's going to be finding that. And Torbulance is in full retreat, going to get caught out here by the Mei. It looks like they're almost going to be able to keep Noro alive, but I think the damage coming out is way too strong. There it is.
It really is. Wannabe closing that gap onto Noro is going to spell the end of that tank player. And the Sigma and Moira just trying to get out right now, but the main wall going to be ensuring that they cannot. The chase coming through is looking pretty heavy from the defense of Team 2. And, you know, it's paying off. It's paying off that they're not getting, that they're going to be staggering those kills a little bit later.
Yeah, they're also not panicking, and that's fantastic to see. They're stabilizing. They're not flinging ults out anymore. Nick's Blizzard is almost back up and recovered. And this point, particularly on Hollywood, can be pretty tricky to slam home. And I think Team 2 have the equipment necessary to defend it.
I think so. I think it's going to be close. We're going to be seeing the Grav Flux come in. No answer from Lure. Gets dropped by that Grav Flux. That was a pretty brutal start to this fight.
Yeah, that's nasty. Devil goes down, but the damage has definitely been done. Team 2 cleaning up here. Now, Torbulance, they tossed out, or Tony rather, tossed out that little beams there. Noro's sitting on the back heel, having thrown out the supercharger earlier. Lore still building up back to those barriers. It's going to be up to Air, Sirius, and Essel to really punch this through, but I think Magic Mateball is going to have that barriers in time.
There is the possibility for Mateball to have that barrier. Sirius can get some massive damage, though, if he gets a couple of clicks in a tightly cloistered group. Air having a rough time. Wannabe scouting up in that top area, ready to just drop down on anybody who's foolish enough to walk under him.
And, okay, so here we go. Noro getting focused down. Looks like they're probably going to live here. But now the supercharger gets thrown down in a really spooky position here. There's no reason for anyone to engage here. And in fact, yeah, Air just goes and finds it and crushes it. The barriers came out, of course, to counter Sirius's big Grav, but now it's going to be Air going into the backline with the boss, and he gets focused down, and it looks like Team 2 have adjusted to that. Nick's Blizzard doesn't immediately result in any kills, but it does make it possible for Team 2 to really handily murder everyone. It's still not looking good for Torbulance, though they have, again, a good ult rotation set up.
They will. They'll have about 2 ults set up in their hands, but Wannabe's Death Blossom will be able to answer at least a little bit of that. I don't think he's going to want to use that when Essel has that Meteor Strike on board, otherwise he might get the hammer brought down upon him. And right now, we're seeing a little bit of an uncomfortable rotation, not uncomfortable, an unconventional rotation coming through from the side of Torbulance, not taking the jail, but instead taking the third spawn door.
Yeah, and so the wall comes up, stops a lot of that laser beam from going through. Meanwhile, however, the heals are down, and Essel has dropped the big booms. That's not going to result in anything that's huge. And so the halt comes in. Wannabe's Death Blossom finds Essel. PG1 having already picked up Noro. It's total dominance on the card by Team 2, who have a 6v4, make that 3-2, and that's a 1, and Noro has dropped onto the Hammond. Early Grav thrown out by PG1 because I think we all know how this is going to end. It is no overtime needed. The cart stops here, but that is some solid progress.
Yeah, I think Team 2, you know, they may have been expecting some play against a Pharah. They may have been trying to avoid that collateral damage coming through. And because of that, on first point, they got a little bit shaken. But then they regain their composure. That's this team's kind of a shtick at this point, is that they're able to redefine themselves. They're kind of like a soft plastic in that they'll bend and mold to whatever the situation puts them in. And right now, I think that's paying off for them more so than being something like a sharpened sword.
Absolutely. And speaking of paying off, the payoff is about to come through big time, as now it's time for Team 2. They get to take the fate into their own hands. They have set that pace, or rather, they've forced Torbulance to set it for them. Turbulence's cart stops after point A, 107.83 meters, exactly the distance required for Team 2 to claim the match, as this win will give them their third victory, eliminating Torbulance from the tournament. And though we'll be sad to see them go, it's honestly, it's in their hands as well. Their defense has to be top notch. Yes, there it is, Bastion.
We're absolutely going to be seeing that Bastion come out. I'm Not sure if we'll see it as effective as we saw on Nepal. I think that Team 2 probably did not have as much time to adapt to it on Nepal. Um, Now that they've locked themselves down, we're seeing them being a little bit more warmed up. And even furthermore, Essel on this Pharah might provide another opportunity for punishment to come through from Team 2 onto Turbulence.
Yeah, and even more so with that too, you don't have any mobility here whatsoever. If you get pushed away from this platform, that's it, you're done. So this is going to be the bunker in the truest sense, and yeah, Baptiste is there, and that Maywall, there it is. It just comes down so perfectly, and giving Team 2 exactly the time that they need to get in here. Now they can attack this from a number of different directions. Looks like they're setting up in the Fat Pack for now, but that Pharah is going to keep them there.
And that Pharah will not only keep them there, but build up quite a bit of ult charge as well. Again, when you're clustered, that Pharah builds up a ton of ult charge. Gonna be dropping dangerously on the point, though.
Yeah, so they're doing the usual counter bunker. They're setting up underneath the coffee shop. And it's Sirius, actually, who drops down. Normally, oh, they do! They have the Orisa rotating as well. And Essel with the... Oh, no! Trebuchets launch stone projectiles certain numbers of kilometers. The barrage finally goes out and gets 2. Essel does get forced down immediately, but nothing new there. A tick taken by Team 2, but this is a Turbulence that's looking a lot stronger.
It certainly is, and Team 2 going to be getting some progress to walk away with. They do need to get the other 2 ticks, though, if they want to have a chance of winning Hollywood here. But Air, very close to that tank configuration, not the biggest factor moving forward, considering that the Bastion's DPS is already insanely high as is. But this time they're going to go for a little bit more of a direct pathing.
Yes, and I like this particular strategy from Team 2. You only need to take a third of the time, so you just sneak onto the point and force them to come down, but the rotation is real. And Air grabs Wannabe early into the fight. Essel finds a PG-1, the tank line is gone. Sirius launches a projectile of their own. Now this is Turbulence that we saw on Nepal, and I don't want to say it's because of the Bastion, because they did do so well without them on that first round, but I think it's going to be because of the Bastion.
Right, and this play, you know, this kind of comes down to the fundamentals of what is most difficult to deal with about the Bastion. It requires so much focus, it requires so much teamwork. It's going to be real difficult. The Mei dropping that Mei wall, a little bit of a different style where the Bastion has to pour through the entire thickness of it.
Yeah, so the Square of Doom comes down, but it's actually mispositioned and doesn't really get a lot of action. The rotation here is perfect. Essel throws out the barrage, gets taken down, but maybe the damage is enough. It's the tank going down. Yes, Magic Mateball also falls to the tank. PG-1 throws out the Gravitic Flux, and that might result in some kills. There's no barriers to counter it, as there is no Lucio on the enemy team. But Sirius, both actually Sigma's gonna go down here. This is technically anyone's fight, but man, Air is just way too strong.
Yeah, they still have not dealt with this Bastion as they need to right now. This Bastion really has to drop if they want any hope of getting onto this point. They get a couple kills here and there onto this, well, the side of Team 2 gets a couple kills here and there, but it never seems like quite enough as long as both of those DPS players still reign supreme over the point.
I don't think it would be too incorrect to say that it looks like Team 2 literally just cannot figure out how to unseat a Bastion regardless of what map it is. This might honestly be Turbulence's answer to everything. Make sure you run that Bastion. Now, it's slim pickings on both sides, except for the fact that Team 2 might have a lot of ults coming into this fight as they get started and find Essel early on.
Crucial, and the kill on the Air is large. I don't think the Mercy was able to get the res.
Yeah, they got pulled out.
That's going to be a first point.
Yep, and so point A falls, but almost a full hold coming out from Turbulence means that I don't think this is going to be an easy point B finish at all. Air is, in fact, going to be sticking onto the Bastion, though I think that might be a product of the split spawn. They're going to be setting up back as Essel rains down some rockets, tries to build some ult charge. They're going to be giving up a lot of time here for free as they get unscrambled, so to speak.
Yeah, they're going to be basically giving up the gate choke here, which is, you know, a pretty vulnerable spot for the attacking team to have to kind of maneuver through. So I think that's very good for Team 2. It also gives them a chance to figure out what they're going to be doing, keep some eyes on their tab menu, just keep watch out.
All right, the laser beams are down. The Immortality field is ready to rock and roll. And it looks like Essel's finally found their stride here. Air goes nuts with the big tank. Grabs a 4K. Just, you know, a regular day that ends in Y for Air, the master of the Bastion. And that's a team wipe with 2 minutes left. And they actually are going to be holding on to a barrage. They did sacrifice a bunch of ults for that. So aside from that barrage, Well, actually, it's looking pretty much the same on the other side of Team 2 as well.
It's looking select on these ultimates coming through right now. Team 2 having some tough times, and they're still trying to use Nick to optimize the displacement of that Bastion, I feel, and trying to put some damage down onto Essel. Those May Icicles, not exactly the worst thing. They're hard to aim, but they do some severe damage. Oh, Essel, no!
There seriously should be a ticker for Sigma in the kill field when he forces someone to suicide like that. Looking very good now for Team 2. They found, despite the kill onto Nick, they're going to be moving this payload right along. Though, again, Torbulance committed a lot into that fight. Essel back on the Doomfist. Air Air actually going to be switching away from the Bastion. I don't think that's good.
This is what we were talking about exactly with the side of Team 2. They adapted. They never forgot that Essel was in the sky. They always remembered that. And like a whip, PG1 ready with the response of that field.
Wow, so here we go. It is going big times. The laser beams is here. This is just too dominant from Team 2. It's a team wipe. Ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at the champions of this particular matchup. That's going to be Team 2 taking Hollywood and the round and the map.
Taking
match.
the round, the map, the match.
The whole kit, all the marbles.
Taking everything we can offer them here in the third round. But with that being said, Torbulance, they had some moments where they were looking like they were going to pull it back. This Bastion was getting some value. I am a little bit surprised we saw the switch off of the Bastion. I think that it did come down to the DPS plays here, and which ones were able to make a few less mistakes against their opposing team. I think Team 2 shone through a little bit stronger in that instance.
Yeah, and I want to say for the record that we started out this match by saying that it just looks so utterly dominant from Torbulance, especially, given that Nepal performance, anyone could be forgiven for saying so. Team 2 did exactly what you need to do in this particular situation. You adjust, you come back, you think next fight, and then you take 3 maps in a row, and that's how you do it. That's how you take it away, and congratulations to them. So yeah, not really a lot to go off of there, except teams take note.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure a lot of people will have their pen and pads out. And before we go into our interview here, folks, do want to give you a friendly reminder to throw your MVP vote down into the chat so you can let the teams and players know who you think is popping off this round. But as I say that, we're going to have a special guest hopping into chat with us. It's Devil. Devil, how you doing?
How's it going? I'm doing all right. How about you guys?
We are just loving it here. That was one of the neatest little matchups that I ever did see. So I want to ask you real quick, now that you've just come off the map, probably some adrenaline pumping, on that Hollywood push, when you guys saw that Bastion again that gave you guys so much trouble on Nepal, what was your thought going through?
We definitely knew they were going to run a Bastion there when they were going through defense. So what we're trying to do is make them play close and make them play to our advantages, which would be the Reaper May. So basically our plan was just to, wall them off, speed underneath them, split them up, wait until someone drops and get on to the person. They still gave us a lot of trouble, mostly because of faults of our own, but they definitely put up a good fight with the Bastion.
Yeah, I definitely, I think that there were some moments where they shined. Me and Threep were talking throughout this entire series about how it looks like your team was just really quick at adapting what they were throwing at you. I think it was on Nepal where we saw some Pharah play really come through. But then after that, you guys seemed to be on top of that Pharah the entire time. Is there a certain mindset that you guys have that kind of enables that adaptability to come through? And if so, what can you elaborate on what it is?
Yeah, definitely. After the first map, after getting wrecked by their Pharah so hard, we kind of realized that their entire team was pretty much revolving around the Pharah and letting the Pharah hard carry them, and they're enabling the Pharah a lot. So if we just focus more resources into the Pharah, make sure she doesn't get any value, it's pretty much like a 6v4 down on the ground. Because if their Pharah is getting no value, what's gonna stop us from pushing into them? So, yeah.
Certainly can't disagree. Yeah.
Yeah, that seemed to work out really well for you guys. So I love seeing the plays coming out for you guys. It was really super exciting watching y'all, again, just adjust constantly. Want to talk a bit about how you guys play with the Mei. Some really good walls coming out, and you all were very quick to take advantage of that. Is that something that you would attribute to game sense, or is that a particular strategy that teams have to practice?
Normally when you're playing on a team, there will be teams that match better together, understand each other better. But definitely, if you're gonna play on a team, you have to practice a lot and know what know what your teammates want to do without really talking to them. So after putting a ton of hours into scrims, we know if our Mei gets a good wall, we should hard engage on that or focus whoever the Mei walled. And also there's comms during the gameplay, we noticed that a huge target was walled, and so we act fast before their enemy team can realize what's gonna happen to them.
With that being said, about the team comms, and it sounds like it's something that is practiced, but also kind of just develops naturally through that practice. Would you say that there are people who are more synergized and communicating with each other? Like, is it a lot of, the tanks are really good at saying, Orisa pull, Sigma rock chuck, or is it kind of everybody's talking to each other at the same rate?
For the majority of the match, or for the majority of how our team plays, I think we're pretty well synergized. We kind of know what we want to do in a general sense, but we also have to plan out how the engagement goes. So we're saying throughout the match, okay, this is our game plan. This is how we're gonna take the route, or this is how we're gonna try to take the point or defend the point. And if plans go wrong, then we have to talk to each other. Okay, what do we want to do now? How are we gonna do it? What's our win condition for it?
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think that having that broad spectrum of communication is very advantageous, as opposed to just one person communicating to an entire team, or as I like to call them, my comp games. But
Rip.
With that being said, Threep, do you have any more questions moving forward for Devil?
Yeah, so we saw some of your heroes coming out here, and it was super fun to see the tank play and whatnot. Is there anything you miss about the previous metas of Overwatch?
Yeah, as during this meta, it's kind of really hard to hard carry as a main tank compared to any of the other roles. For off tank, you can get a really huge ult that turns the fight. DPS, you can get a crucial pick. Support, you can keep everyone up. But as main tank, it's kind of really hard to hard carry engagements with this current meta, because and before during Goats or during Ryan Zarya, if you get one big shatter in their entire team, you could carry a fight super hard.
Yep.
But Bongo's not really a hard carry type ult.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's much. I think tanks have definitely moved into a definitive supporting role, so to speak, and it can be difficult. As useful as the ultimate is, no doubt, but yeah, I think I have to 100% agree as a tank player myself. But yes, so thank you very much, Devil, for joining us in the booth here today. I want to give you one more opportunity to drop some sick lines to our audience. Tell them how you're feeling. Tell them how the team is going to go on from now on.
Yeah, we're all feeling pumped. The adrenaline's good. We definitely were excited once we won that final map. But after, during that the poll map, we reorganized, regrouped. We said, okay, that was just one map. We go again, and we don't let that one map loss, determine how the rest of the scrim or the match is gonna go.
Yeah, I think that that tenacity pulled through here. But Devil, that's unfortunately all the time we have for interviews. I want to go ahead and thank you for hopping into the caster's booth and answering a few questions with us, my friend.
All right, yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, and congratulations once again for the win.
Peace.
Now, Threep, I believe we are about ready to roll on into our MVP vote here from Twitch chat. And Threep, I'm going to ask you this because I don't have the envelope yet. Who do you think was very deserving of some of those MVP votes?
So just after map 1, I would have said Essel. The Pharah play. Honestly though, I think there's a couple MVPs that you can really shake a stick at. PG1 for the Sigma play. Just constantly locking up Essel, never giving that barrage a chance, because we've seen what that damage can do. It's insane. Let's see. Nick, super crazy May play, absolutely unbelievable. Wall placement to die for, and die they did frequently. So yeah, I think you got a lot of candidates. Those are the two that come to my mind right away.
Well, it looks like we're actually going to be looking onto the other side of the board for the MVP. It turns out Noro is actually going to be our viewer MVP for tonight. So major congratulations, Noro. A nice little send-off for Team Torbulance. Since, unfortunately, as this is the losers bracket, we won't be seeing them anymore. Team 2 going to be proceeding on through into the losers bracket, even deeper into the depths and trenches. But with that, I think we are about ready to wrap it up here. Wouldn't you say, Threep?
Yeah, I think that just about does it for us. We have to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Don't forget to grab us a follow so that you know when the matches are going live and it's good times to be alive. This has been Threepwood007. I can be found on Twitch and Twitter at Threepwood007.
And likewise, I have been Sir Waltham. You can find me on Twitch or Twitter at Sir Waltham. That's WALTHAM. And with that being said, we want to thank you guys for tuning in from everybody here at the Overwatch All-Stars Brawl. I want to give you a special shout out. Make sure to give us those endorsements, those social media likes, the follows, whatever you have available to you. If you want to keep up with us, be sure to use those links. But for the meantime, we want to thank you guys for tuning in. We will have some more games going for you tomorrow. If my time zones are correct, I believe it's going to be 7 Eastern time.
Eastern Daylight.
Yep. And with that, we want to wish you guys a great night, and we hope you stay safe out there, everybody.